What's going on, everyone? Today we're here with Zaza Ali. Zaza, thank you for joining the program.
Peace, King. Thank you so much for having me, and peace to all your listeners.
All right, Zaza. So tell us a little bit about yourself, because some people have heard about you, but some people have not. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I am a mother, an author, former radio host, an activist, as well as an organizer on behalf of our people. From Oakland, California. And I'm just out here, doing my part to raise the consciousness and awareness of our people as well as all people.
Now, as you spoke about consciousness.
Mm.
I have noticed, in the I'm gonna say in the past, definitely 2 to 3 years, it's been a great rise in the consciousness of Black people that I have not seen.
Mm.
What do you think is attributing to this rise of consciousness within Black people?
So I definitely think that, with the advent of technology, the internet, it definitely has given us an abundance of information at our fingertips. You used to have to go and sit in the library, to study and to look up certain things. Now you can just look at it. It's at your fingertips on your phone or on your laptop. Also, I think that the conditions, the times that we live in, and people are living in such deplorable conditions, not only financially, but mentally and spiritually as well, that a lot of people around the world are seeking something greater than the life that they're living. And I think that has a lot to do with the rise in consciousness as well.
I went on a show, Jesse Lee Peterson, one time. That was very interesting. Anyway, I had a brother posted a video about his producer. Now, his producer name is James Hake. Okay. I didn't think nothing of it. Well, Jesse Lee Peterson has a producer who openly admits to calling Black people the N-word.
My producer is white, and he's a racist. I hear him say things that I wouldn't even say.
Like what?
He used the N-word,
Wow.
and he laughed, and he had fun with it.
I see. And do you think he's a racist?
And he said that when he's walking through the mall, he and his little buddies, and they see black guys walking through the mall, he automatically look at them and go guilty.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Do you think?
Gus,
what's your producer's name? What's your
want?
producer's name? What's his name?
What do you want, Gus? What do you want from white people, or what do you want?
What is your producer's name?
James.
James. Oh, is this the person who emailed me?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Hey, Gus, we're going to hold you through the final segment. Is that okay? We're going to bring you on just to...
You said 10 minutes. You said 10 minutes.
Oh, I apologize. All right. No,
is this James?
You gotta go. If you got to go, you got to go.
Is this
no
James?
Worries.
Are you James? Oh, okay. You're the producer he was talking about?
Yeah.
Wow. So you you say nigger?
Yeah, at times.
Wow.
Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because we have also, in the midst of a rise of consciousness, we also seen a rise of coons. Now, what is it about these coons that's just really going crazy? Your Charles Barkley's, etc. They just really have to defend massa, make sure they can subjugate our rise. What's going on with that as well?
Well, the self-hate is real. And there's always been, since slavery, there was always, one that was chosen by massa, if you will, to be the one to beat the slaves, to beat the other slaves on the plantation. And that was systematically done in order to turn our people against one another. So, if you look fast forward to today, and of course, you're not going to turn against your boss. So whoever's cutting your check is calling the shots, and people like Charles Barkley and Stacey Dash, they are being rewarded, whether it's financially or whether it's with fame or whether it's being accepted, in mainstream white media. And then you also have the fact, Charles Barkley has a white wife. Stacey Dash has been involved with white men for as long as I can remember. So these people are really trying to be embraced and accepted by white people and white culture in general, because there are many benefits that come with that. There's not as many benefits to being pro-Black and to being about the business of your people. Matter of fact, you get shunned. You get, ostracized. They come after you. But when you edify white people over your people, there are plenty of trinkets and benefits that come with that. So that's what they're striving for.
Now you mentioned the term pro-black. What does that term mean to you?
It means being about the business of black people, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be doing what I'm doing, out here teaching and trying to raise the consciousness. It just means, moving and operating in your life on a daily basis with trying to do something beneficial for yourself, which is automatically going to be doing something beneficial for your people. Intentionally shopping black, intentionally teaching your children their culture, teaching them about African civilizations, about black pride, about black love, edifying the black male and the female relationship, teaching your daughters and your sons to love their hair, to love their noses, to love their lips, to love their skin tone, just moving and operating with a sense of black pride and black love and black culture.
Now, you said about loving yourself. Now, recently we did a video, and I'm pretty sure you've seen this, the shocking pictures of Lil' Kim. She was a darker skinned lady, back in the 90s, and now she's looking lighter than you right now. So what goes into that mentality with the skin bleaching? And because I noticed that with the women in our community, colorism is a little bit more of an issue than it is with the men. Now, can you explain to me why is that?
Well, Lil' Kim put out a statement, and she talked about when she was coming up, how the men who, she was interested in or she had relationships with would talk about her and say that she wasn't pretty enough, or that they wanted a certain physical type of female. And so, this is funny because I talk about in one of my lectures, how they always do the studies with the black dolls, and the black children would prefer the white doll over the black doll. And I talk about in my lectures, as well as in my book, that some of that comes from our daughters and our sons seeing our women go from looking like their natural selves to spending hours trying to look other than themselves. So if we are aspiring to look like white women, whether it's with blonde weave or whether it's, getting the noses fixed and the lips and all of this crazy stuff that we're doing right now, it is psychologically impacting the mindset of our children, where my mother wants to look white, so I want to look white as well. Or I love white, I embrace white. The flip side of that is that we have been so culturally ingrained to think that black is not beautiful, to think that the facial features and the hair textures that we have is not beautiful, that we are going way out of our way to look other than ourselves. Lil' Kim was extremely beautiful to me when she came out. Like, I didn't think anything was wrong with her. So for her to go so far into chopping and destroying her face, it speaks volumes to the level of insecurity that she's suffering from. And I think a lot of women, especially young girls, if you look at her how she branded herself, she was very sexually explicit when she first came out. Those things go hand in hand. Women only thinking that they are their bodies, thinking that that's the only thing that they have to offer. And then once you get out there and you're in an industry where everybody's selling sex, everybody has a nice shape, everybody has a nice body, then now what? White becomes the standard of beauty, especially when you're in that Hollywood industry, and you see them edifying the Julia Roberts and, different white females who the white world think is beautiful. For me, they're average. Lil' Kim initially was, she was a queen. Now she has chopped and cut her face up so bad, she looks like a monster. And I can only imagine what she's going through internally.
Now, you talking about Lil' Kim, and I put that in my report about what you just said, actually. But me as a black man, I'm pretty sure other black men, we have been told things about our color as well. I have been told, oh, I don't like you because you're too dark, or teasing me about me being dark skinned. I've had that before, but I've never had the desire to say, I want to lighten my skin because these girls are, it was mostly kid stuff, or teenage girls or whatever, not as an adulthood, saying something about me being dark skinned. So why is it that the men who possibly could deal with that don't go to those lengths of bleaching their skin, but the women feel that it is something that they should do? Because we're seeing this as a reoccurring thing. Like, skin bleaching is even big in African nations as well.
God, it's extremely big. And that's what's so ironic to me, that we don't even talk about the fact that in Africa, like, it is huge in Africa, Nigeria, Kenya. I mean, it's insane how the lengths that our people are going to look other than themselves. But, this is something that I've struggled with my whole life. The colorism, coming from a family of very chocolate and beautiful brothers and sisters, and me looking the way that I look, not being embraced and accepted because of that, which I didn't have any control over. And then it goes back to slavery, of course. And this is why it's so important for our people to study and understand history, so we can get a grip on this thing. But to your original question, it is very competitive in Western society for women. You can put on a t-shirt and some jeans and some Timberlands and a hat and go out and, and you're good. Women go to extreme lengths to be noticed because of their physical. And now with social media, the vanity is just insane. I mean, you see these women putting up these pictures with their breasts propped up and, back shots and, all of these selfies. I mean, like, how many selfies can you put up? You only have on a different outfit. You look exactly the same you looked yesterday, but we live in a culture of extreme vanity, and women are trying so hard to be seen and to outdo other women that it's getting higher and higher and higher, the lengths of things that women are doing. So now you have sisters getting, injections in their behinds to have bigger butts, silicone, the plastic industry, the plastic, surgery industry in America is $100 billion industry. Black women are spending somewhere between $500 billion and $1 trillion on hair every single year. So it's like we are going so far to so many extremes to look physically what we think is beautiful, and then we totally neglect ourselves emotionally. We totally neglect ourselves mentally. It's like you spend, $400 or $500 on a weave, but when is the last time you read a good book? Not a fiction book, but a book about something of substance, a book about something that will feed your soul. So, I think it's white males, and particularly white females, being held as a standard of beauty in America. I think it's definitely self-hate. Us not knowing our history, not understanding our culture and the great civilizations that we came from. Like, why would you want to look like Queen T if you knew the history of, not Queen T, I'm sorry. Why would you want to look like Julia Roberts if you knew the history of some of the great African queens that sat on the throne and that were making extremely important decisions as far as running a nation and ruling an empire? It's also, because of our lack of substance, we live in a society where people are so focused on the outside that we're neglecting our insides. So I want to look a certain part. I want to put this happy face on so people can't see that I'm really dying inside, that I feel no validity and no self-love for myself. I don't even know who I am. So if I can get 100,000 Instagram followers or Facebook followers just based on the way I look, then I'm good.
Which is sad, because that's at the end of the day, even the scriptures teach beauty fades. You're not going to be 21 forever.
Yeah.
And what are you going to be left with at the end of the day?
Beauty. What is there's the physical aspect, yes, but you don't remember those type of things as you move throughout your life. You remember the people that touched you. You remember kindness. You remember people who helped pave the way for you. You remember the spirit and the essence of people who came across your path, who helped you, who didn't have any agenda or any angle. So I think that we kind of got to step back a little bit and reassess this thing, reassess what we're emphasizing as a people, because when you look at these young sisters on these social medias now doing all this twerking and, the puckered lips, and I mean, it's absolutely out of control, and it's really, really sad.
And usually when the men see this, especially young men or even older men, it's like they have the attitude like, marry them for what?
Well, and let me say something. I'm glad you said that, because we cannot underscore enough. Like, brothers have a hand in this too. It's like, I want a thick red bone. You know what I mean? Or I want to, you know, a big booty, dark skinned girl. You know, like you hear these type of things from men, and then you see your father or you see your uncles or you see your grandfathers playing around with women, playing with their emotions, playing with their minds, you know, saying things like Lil' Kim having experiences where men are telling her, you know, well, you're ugly. I want this type of, like, you know, colorism is an issue. And even if men per se are not directly being impacted to where they want to go cut up their faces or look a certain way, their behavior is impacting our women. So my message to the brothers would be, you know, be mindful, especially if you have a daughter. You know, you can't be talking about, well, I prefer a sister who looks, you know, a light-skinned woman who looks like Halle Berry, and your daughter is a little chocolate cutie. You know, we have to be mindful. And one thing I always suggest, brother, is that we should have images of our people all over our homes. That's where the standard of beauty starts. Because when you go in Walgreens and Walmart, you see Elle magazine, you see Vogue, you see all of these different magazines as well as commercials that are emphasizing white beauty. But if you grew up in a household where you're seeing African masks and where you're seeing, you know, beautiful pictures of black queens and black kings and, you know, learning stories about Shaka Zulu and Imhotep and Pharaoh Hatshepsut and all of these great people and Harriet Tubman and all of our people who have paved the way for us, it will impact your mind and what your standard of beauty actually is. So a lot of this falls back on the parents and that village that we always talk about that I haven't yet to see, but I'm trying to build.
Now, I want to, you know, backtrack a little bit. You were saying about the brothers being, you know, part of some of the issues with the women. And, you know, yeah, if you post pictures on the internet showing your butt, showing your breasts and all this other stuff, just men in general, it has nothing to do with color on this one. You're basically coming at their primitive nature, literally. So, of course, they're going to lust after that. I mean, it's not just black men that's actually looking at those pictures, but, you know, and some men are immature. You know, I mean, if I was to view women and say, oh, well, women told me because I'm dark skinned, or women told me because I'm not this, I'm not that, so I'm going to go do this to myself, that's individuals. Yeah. So why is it that, you know, I understand some brothers, and I don't agree with that. I don't agree with colorism. My position is colorism is cooning. That's my position. Because we don't need to be picking each other apart based on the hue of our skin. Mm-hmm. We are black at the end of the day. I can't stand that if you even own that with me. You know, I don't have an issue with a brother saying, listen, I just prefer this, and that's fine if your preference. But I don't agree with you putting down another, you know, sister of a different skin tone or publicly getting on YouTube or whatever and saying, you know, I can't stand, you know, this color black woman and I think white women are better and all that crap. I don't agree with that. Yeah. You know, and I understand that's probably what you may be getting at, correct?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's that, and it's also, you know, you talked about individuals and, you know, like a person, you know, one guy putting up pictures and, you know, well, that's his preference or that's his thing. That's what he does. We have to get back into the mindset of collectivism and understanding that it's never just individual. You are never just only impacting yourself, especially with social media now. Mm-hmm. We are a tribal, collective people. We outnumber Europeans 11-1. Some people say 13-1. We are all interconnected. We are all rooted in God. We all come from one source. So when you look at it from that perspective, it's never just an individual thing. It's a collective mindset that we have to have, especially for people who need to heal. We have been so thoroughly destroyed by what's happened to us that we need to take on the perspective of being healed. Once we heal, cool. We can go back to, you know, what we want to do as individuals. And even now, I'm not saying everybody has to just jump on this bandwagon and, you know, fly this straight and narrow path. But we have to start thinking as a collective people. You know, you talked about putting down, you know, you don't agree with putting down a woman. Of course, that goes without saying. What about elevating them? What about black men and black women intentionally setting out to elevate dark-skinned women, even if that's not your cup of tea, even if you don't prefer physically, you know, a chocolate sister? Have you elevated any dark-skinned sisters lately? When you see them out, when they come across your path, whether you're at the coffee shop or at the grocery store, man, you are a beautiful sister. Your skin is so beautiful. I love your hair texture. I love you know what I mean? Like taking an initiative to elevate women, to seeing sisters, you know, light skin and dark skin and brown skin sisters being together and taking the initiative to say, you know what, y'all queens look beautiful. I love to see all of the different flavors and varieties of Black women. I think that, and this is my message to you as well as all of the brothers, we need that. Black women need that, especially the sisters who are of a darker hue and who are dealing with more of a psychological war in the society.
Well, you know, now I can't do that because I'm married. But one thing I do, okay, when I'm in public, and it's something that I always, if I see a sister out and I see her with her natural hair, I usually make a point to say, sister, I like your hair.
Well,
you know, and the reason why I do that is because I know it's harder for a natural woman to be out in this society. She's attacked probably on her job. You know, everybody want her to have, you know, as long as she got the yaki in, she's good down to her feet, but her natural hair is a problem. So I make sure to compliment them on their natural hair. And it's funny because when you compliment them, it's like they get a big smile on their face that you actually gave them a compliment about their hair, you know, and I keep it just that simple. I don't get into no more conversation than that, but I notice it goes a long way with them when you do that.
It really does. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
You know, so I just, you know, and you're talking about responsibility, basically taking responsibility of your platform. And I agree with that because, you know, it took me a while to even get that, you know, okay, you really need to watch what you're saying and watch the direction you're trying to go, because you just don't realize how many people that you probably can touch or help out or whatever when we put these things out on social media. But, you know, you go from a regular person just posting your opinion to maybe getting a little following. It's definitely like a responsibility. At times it could be scary to you at times.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it takes me aback, you know, when I get messages and, you know, come in contact with people who are so impacted. Not only when I speak and, you know, when I do the interviews or when I do radio shows, I'm talking about my words, what I write, you know, elevating the relationship between the Black man and the Black woman, you know, elevating Black children, all of the ways we look, you know, saying something that touches into the soul of another human being just with words. It is a very, 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 very powerful thing. And we have to really, really kind of assess this whole social media responsibility. You know, I started with one Facebook friend. I didn't set out to be like, okay, I'm going to start this platform and have all these followers. I didn't go on Facebook for a long time. I started with one Facebook friend. And just by being myself, by using my mind to try to reach our people, as well as, you know, it's like therapy for me. A lot of the things that I write, I'm talking to myself, you know, and just being consistent and putting the information out there. And it just totally took off. So the question for a lot of us is, are we using those platforms for good, for selfishness? You know, some of us are just using social media to have connections with our families, and that's fine. But just being mindful of what we put out on the internet, because it's there forever. It's there forever, you know. So just kind of being cognizant of how we represent ourselves.
Now, Zaza, I want to get into something that's probably going to piss a lot of people off, but I think this is something that's very important. Let's speak about Planned Parenthood and abortion for a minute when it comes to Black people.
Yeah.
Now, we noticed that there's a Planned Parenthood, or what I would like to call a slaughterhouse of children, in easily access to Black and brown communities. But in the white communities, they have fertility clinics. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you notice who is the one pushing for this abortion. It isn't Black women. It isn't brown women or any other color people. It's mostly white women. They fight tooth and nail. They angry. Even when the guy exposed them, they did all kind of stuff to this guy for exposing for what they were doing in Planned Parenthood. Now, in relation to Black people, I heard something that was crazy one day, but he was actually right. You know, Rush Limbaugh's not on our side. But Rush Limbaugh has said something about abortion, and it made me really think. He said, you know, the Black community, the way they abort their kids, actually they should have 30 to 35% population in the United States. Mm-hmm. But they have aborted their kids so much, is why they can't really grow as they should. And, by the numbers, we have aborted almost estimated 16 million of our people through the slaughterhouse of Planned Parenthood.
It's more than that.
Okay, let me go to conservative number then. But what I'm saying is, why is it that black women keep taking their children to this slaughterhouse and just literally genociding our own people? Adolf Hitler didn't even kill that many.
Yeah. Well, this is when understanding our dysfunction and our problems, and then also putting the system of racism, white supremacy, and the war that has been inflicted on our people, we have to equally assess these things. Because a lot of times when we have this conversation, people will either focus on the system of racism, white supremacy, and leave this conversation off, or focus on our dysfunction and black women and having abortions and leave this off. I wrote a book, The Scientific Intervention in Our Affairs. This is my first book that I put out. And in it, I specifically talked about eugenics, and I specifically talked about abortion. The statistic is that some 363,000 black babies are being aborted every year. Now, that's from 2012. I'm sure that number is higher now. So the estimate is somewhere between 16 and 22 million black babies that have been aborted since the early 1980s. Some people say late 1970s. Now, how many of us can have a conversation with our children and talk about Margaret Sanger and talk about eugenics and talk about the scientific war that has been waged on our people, whether it's sterilization, whether it's abortion, whether it's birth control? Birth control did not set out. It was not initially set up for this, freedom liberation movement for women. They were trying to figure out how to stop the birth rate of black people, black women in particular. So this is where it started. It's morphed into something else now. So then you talk about, feminism. And this is why it astounds me that black women assign themselves to a culture of feminism, which was born out of eugenics, which was born out of the white women's suffrage movement. So, now we have these very intelligent sisters, some of them intelligent, some of them are crazy out of their minds, who assign themselves to feminism, having no idea about where this is all rooted at. So you have all of these babies being aborted, and Rush Limbaugh, he's, okay, so you want to talk about, that aspect of it. Why don't you talk about Planned Parenthood? Here it is. We've just had, it was just exposed that Planned Parenthood has been taking the fetal tissue of babies that were aborted and selling it out on the black market. You think Rush Limbaugh doesn't know about that? You think he doesn't know that the majority of those babies are black? So if you want to talk about it, Rush, then talk about that aspect of it. Europeans are not giving birth at a statistic, actually worldwide, they are losing more of their population than they are actually gaining. There's a book called Death of the West, and it talks specifically about the statistics of white people and how they are not giving enough birth to sustain their population. And by 2050, the globe, America, but the planet in general is going to be no, I shouldn't say the globe, because the planet is already majority black. But the United States is going to no longer be a white nation. It will be a multicultural nation. So this is why the Ku Klux Klan is and the skinheads and the militias and all of these different white fascist groups or left-wing groups or right-wing, whatever you want to call them, are so up in arms right now. They know. When I wrote in my book, I talk about how young black women aged 14 to 21, they are the ones who are most prone to this abortion statistic of 300 and, let's say 370, just for the sake of conversation, 370,000 black babies being aborted every year. So we have young girls and young women aged 14 to 21 who are having multiple abortions. We're talking about 3 to 5 abortions at a very young age, which lends to miscarriages later on in life, which lends to being sterile, and which also is connected to breast cancer statistics. Mm-hmm. Now, how is it that we as black women, and this is for all of the sisters who are listening, how is it that we are watching our daughters destroy their wombs? And then, of course, the psychological and the emotional aspect of that later on in life, when you realize what it is that you've done to your body and what you did in your formative years. How is it that we as Black women are so immersed in this world that we don't see these numbers, these statistics, what's happening to our daughters? They're using abortion as a method of birth control, and that we could not be operating from a sense of urgency. We're on social media talking about Lemonade and talking about Scandal and talking about Empire and talking about television shows when our children are crying out for help with their behavior. So then the conversation gets, well, women have the right to choose and women have the right to do with their bodies and women have this and women. It's not only our choice. It takes a man and a woman to cultivate and create a child. Now, of course, we have situations too where men are forcing women to get abortions. When you get into a relationship with a man and he has no interest in being with you long term, so you get pregnant and now he's like, okay, I got 600, we got to go to the clinic, not keeping in mind what she wants. So the conversation has to be balanced. But for us as a people, if we do not sit up straight and say something is very wrong with this picture, white people in the scientific world of racism, white supremacy has declared war on our wombs, on the wombs of our women, and as well as the genetics of men. There is a whole nother aspect of the conversation as far as why men are not reproducing themselves as far as children. The sexual anatomy of a man. You keeping those cell phones in your pocket. You are zapping your anatomy down there. So why are we having less birth rate of boys? There's a video called The Disappearing Male. I implore everyone to go and watch that video because it talks about the sperm count of men today. And of course, we know Black men will their statistics will be a lot higher because of the way they eat, because of the way they live, the alcohol, the drugs, the stress, the emotional and mental dysfunction that a lot of our brothers are facing. There's a whole conversation about the scientific war on us as a people that we are not even having.
You're talking about, the population of, the country, at least with the white, people being, at a minority. And I was telling people that I say, when they came out, all this stuff about Mexicans and Muslims, which if you do the research, Mexicans and their birth rate is just exploding.
Yeah.
And then if you look into their community and what they believe in, a lot of them are traditional Catholic. And, a lot of them that's traditional Catholic don't believe in birth control, don't believe in abortion. Matter of fact, you do abortions in some Hispanic families, they kick you out of the family.
Yeah.
And we know at one point in time, we were like that. And we need to go, that's why I tell people, we need to go back. I'm going to say segregation back. I'm not saying the actual act of segregation, but I'm saying the way our family structure was during segregation and back. Well, we had, pride in our community. We wouldn't put up with stuff like that. If you got somebody pregnant, doggone it, you gonna marry them. That type of thing. They didn't play that, them old school men about just making babies just recklessly out here. And our family structure just needs to get back together. And I also tell a lot of people too, have a lot of kids. I tell people to have a lot. I mean, shoot, have 4, 5, 6, 7. Just make all the babies you want. Just in a marriage. Because it takes two people, not just having, different men would, no. But we need big families again. I love to see big families. I love it.
I do too. And I think one of the greatest things that we can do for ourselves is reproduce ourselves. Now, the problem that we come into is that we are getting into relationships where we're not equally yoked. Mm-hmm. We are not taking the science of mating and the science of finding a partner, a wife, a husband. We're not taking it seriously. We're having sex and then we're kind of backtracking from there. So I think that the conversation on sex is extremely, oh my goodness, is so underappreciated and it's extremely important for us to have right now. We live in a climate where people talk about jump offs like it's nothing. You know what I mean? Like, oh, she's a jump off, I just hit that and I quit it. Well, jump offs lead to single mothers. Mm-hmm. Jump offs lead to abortion. You know what I mean? So we have to really dissect that and unpack that for our children. What is a jump off? Whose mother is that? Whose daughter is that? And then you talked about the family structure and You know, you don't, like I always say, you don't have to have a relationship with a woman to have a relationship with a woman. So we have women out here who don't really know what manhood looks like. They don't have fathers in the household coming up as girls. And that's a major problem in our communities. So that means the uncles have to step up. That means the grandfathers and the cousins and the brothers in the community who see these young sisters struggling and dressing and, you know, looking hot to trot and whatnot. Like, we have to start intervening again, rebuilding that family structure, starting to conversate with one another so we can build and establish trust again. You know, this whole situation with Africa Bambaataa and this molestation thing, we don't realize how big pedophilia is in our community. And it's destroying the fabric of the family. And I've heard on so many different occasions, women contacting me, or even a few males contacting me, that have said, you know, my uncle touched me inappropriately, or this happened, and then I told my mother, and my mother was like, keep it a secret. What? You know, what do you mean keep it a secret? You know, how can we see? And then you hear the story in New York, and everybody's kind of like, you know, oh yeah, you know, that's old news. Like, what do you mean that's old news?
Yeah.
I mean, people in New York actually knew that there was a pedophile. I don't care if he's in hip hop. I don't care if he's a nobody. You knew that there was somebody in our community that was molesting our children, and we didn't do anything about it. So, the concept of the family structure, it has to be reapproached from an accountability standpoint. There's so many things in our community that are going on unchecked and undiscussed. We have boys coming up at 7 and 8 and 9, 10 years old that are their uncles are giving them pornography just for fun. You know, and this is a climate in our culture. I saw it when I was coming up, when my little cousins would talk about stuff like that. And as a young girl, I didn't understand. And now I'm like, wait a minute, he was like 10. And my older cousin gave him a porno magazine. And I don't know what happened after that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You talked about the Mexicans and how they're reproducing themselves. You know, they have their culture. Even if it's Catholicism, and, you know, there's a whole nother backdrop to that conversation, but they have a culture intact. They know who they are. We have a culture of ignorance. We are living and breathing and surviving and existing in a culture of ignorance, and that goes way beyond poverty. That's not just the block boys and the hood rats, as people call them, which I can't stand. But that goes so far beyond just the people who don't have anything. I see ignorance in corporate brothers and sisters. I see ignorance in the Afrocentric paradigm. Ignorance is plaguing our people all across the board. So we got to go back to the root. To the science of, who we are and who we were and what we need to be striving for. And the last point, you talked about segregation. Segregation is integration. Integration is one of the worst things that happened to our people. You know, in the book, $40 Million Slaves, he talks about how when the Negro Leagues were morphed into the major leagues, how it basically destroyed a whole economic and sociological powerhouse. We had pride in going to see our players. We had hotels, we had restaurants, we had tourist spots all across the country where the players would go. People would drive around the city, around the country, and go see players. We had something to be proud of. We had something that was ours. We integrated into the major leagues. They took Jackie Robinson, and everything else stopped. They lied to the coaches in the Negro Leagues and told them that they would bring the coaches along. They didn't take the coaches. They took one player, Jackie Robinson, and all of the rest of the players basically got left by the wayside. And it destroyed their ability to take care of their families. You know, the list goes on and on. But the point is integration and what it did to our people. We didn't have a lot, but we had each other. Now our people are so focused and in love with the world of racism, white supremacy, we can't even fathom what it would look like to say, okay, you know what? I'm only buying black. I'm only supporting black people. I want to study Tulsa and Black Wall Street and study Rosewood and study some of these prominent black communities that were thriving at one point. What happened to them? And how do we get back to that?
Correct. It just kind of makes me sick a lot of times. When I see some black people, and if you look at, like you say, all the ignorance and the thugging, and you say, you may not like the word hood rat, but it definitely describes the behavior.
Yes.
And it has to be called out because if we don't establish this behavior and shun this behavior, because it should be shunned, we can't accept the standard in our community for this stuff. For me, we always talking about who's selling out, who's doing this and the third. But if you killing black people, if you're doing black people wrong like some of them do, then no, we need to shun you. And we, a lot of times, what our biggest problem is, I notice, and I draw a line in the sand, at least with me, we cannot coddle them. We have to say, listen, we have a standard. We got to build on what you just said. How are we going to do that if we do not set a standard and rules and regulations within our community for the decent black men and black women? Like I was said plenty of times, what we need to do is get together, buy land, build subdivisions, set up our own police force, our own fire department. We can do all this stuff. I've seen communities in Houston do it. You can have your own police force. You don't have to have outside Houston police even coming in that neighborhood. Okay, we need to do that sort of thing. And if you guys don't want to reform and get right, well, you can stay where you're at doing what you're doing. We got to go over here and worry about our future, because we at a point that we cannot carry them along anymore, Zaza. We can't. We have to fix our community. You
are absolutely correct. And that is, I say all the time that, a lot of our people are going to get left behind. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that are going on that I just, especially in this quote unquote conscious community, that I'm just like, I don't want no parts of that. I don't care if you got on a dashiki, if you wearing an ankh, if you got on a, hijab. Like, there's so many things that are going on in our communities that just totally need to be ostracized. With the going back to the Africa Bambaataa thing, people were like, well, he's a hip hop pioneer and, we need to investigate first. No, you are accused of pedophilia, and there seems to be a credible argument or accusation. You need to be ostracized. You need to be taken out of the community, put into, however we can figure it out. You need to be totally ostracized, not only from our children, but our people. Mm-hmm. Then we can do the investigation. Then we can backtrack from there. So whether you're talking about drug selling, whether you're talking about robbery and thievery, whether you're talking about, there's a culture and a climate in black women. We have a conversation about slut shaming now. You know what I mean? Like, we're actually talking about slut shaming. Should sluts be ashamed though? That's the question that, flip that question over. What is a woman who identifies with a term as a slut? What benefit can she bring to our communities?
Nothing.
If you call yourself a slut, I don't even want you around black girls. You need to be the hell away from our people. And so, I lived in Atlanta. There's like strip clubs on every corner in Atlanta. And I was having a conversation the other day, and I was talking about how, like, when I was coming up, like, if you were stripping, you weren't wearing that on your shoulder. You know what I mean? That was like, okay, it's your job. You trying to make it through, whatever. The strippers in Atlanta, they look like strippers when they're not working. Like, you're wearing that and representing that because we live in a climate of ignorance, mm-hmm. where now, reality TV stars and strippers and sluts are being magnified and put on this scale where they are what girls are striving to be, and dudes in the club throwing up ones, and our young brothers want to be that. So for me, I'm like, no, I am the antithesis to the slut. I am the antithesis to this whole making strippers popular. And I'm not knocking strippers. I know you may get in a position where you got to do what you got to do, but do what you got to do so you can do what you want to do. Don't get stuck in that life. So I am very cognizant of representing myself in a way that makes our women and our daughters aspire to be more than that. We have so much potential and so much power as women, and we don't know who we are. So you're absolutely correct. I don't want any of that around my son. I don't want, the N-word, and I don't want to say it because I don't know if it's appropriate, but, there's a whole argument over whether we should be using that word or not. But is there a culture that is ingrained in our people that needs to be destroyed? You can identify whether you say thought, whether you say ratchet, whether you say block boy, dope boy, whatever you want to call it. It needs to be destroyed. It absolutely does. And anything that comes with it, that includes hip hop, That includes pop culture, rap. That includes R&B. If Beyonce or Rihanna or Nicki Minaj is representing an aspect of ratchet or hood rat or slut, should we be talking about it? Or do we just big it up because it's Beyonce? If she can twerk on a Super Bowl field, but then we want to turn around and talk about our daughters twerking on videos and call them hood rats, but then we big Beyonce up, that is a very hypocritical message to be sending our children. We should be praising the elements of our communities and our culture that are doing well, and we should be ostracizing and criticizing and judging. We don't judge. You shouldn't judge. No, the intention behind the judging is what's critical. There's so much behavior in our communities that needs to be judged and then done away with and destroyed.
Now, let me tell you, you mentioned hip hop, and I feel that's something that, you know, God has given us, is just basically putting poetry, which is an art form, to music. And if you look at the inception of hip hop, you know, back in the day, you know, it was more so about party music, just having fun. Then it kind of started morphing into conscious music. And I had posted a video on my Facebook page of Ice Cube when he was talking about the change when it went from just talking about what's going on in the community, consciousness, party, whatever, to all this, you know, killing, drugs, sexing, because he said the radio DJs just stopped playing it. And then when we actually had our record labels and it was a genre just for us, we only knew about it, the music was okay. But when you got the Ashkenazi Jew and the white people that came in, they literally messed up that art form. It's where it's at today. And let me tell you how sad it is. And these people got upset with me when I did this. I posted a video. I don't know if you've seen these kids. They made like a parody song to Donald Trump, right? And it was using literally the same lyrics that they would say about black people, talking about choppers in the trunk and all this other stuff they're going to do, right? The doggone FBI and Secret Service even looked into that one, okay? But if they make the same lyrics about black people, talking about they're going to kill this in and get a chopper for in and nothing is said. No FBI, no Secret Service, no nothing. Rick Ross, he made a line about Donald Trump. A white dude on YouTube got Walmart involved with it. Okay, took Rick Ross' album out of Walmart. So you can say all this killing and debauchery against our people, that's cool. But the moment you say one line about white folks, it's a problem all of a sudden. And I'm saying, black people, you don't see this?
Yeah. Well, that's when it goes back to what I talked about before, dealing with our issues and then also being mindful of the war that's taking place. Like, you know, what you're saying, what you're describing, the Ashkenazi Jews, the corporate, you know, the corporatocracy of the music industry. Do we as a people understand that the system of racism, white supremacy is using our music and our culture and the music industry in general as a war against us? Mm-hmm. That's basically what you just said. Can we conceive that? And if we can't, then we have a real serious problem. And if we can, and if we acknowledge that, now we have to accept the responsibility to teach our young people. It's like Cube saying, you know, talking about, and he's absolutely correct. But then look at the music that NWA put out. And it was political, and it was hardcore, and it was raw, and it was true to the streets, but it also had an impact. And then Cube goes on, and he has all of this success, and then he's doing commercials for liquor. Like, why are you have money, you have fame, your family is well taken care of. Why are you doing commercials promoting alcohol when liquor is one of the things that has been destroying generations of our people? Why, you know, so it's that accepting the responsibility. The other thing is, you know, you talked about music and the power of hip hop, the power of poetry is something that we really don't understand. And it goes back to, you know, the Moors in Spain. We had these African kings and these kingdoms that were very powerful throughout Spain. Poetry was a very integrated part of the culture and the customs that they had there, because they understood the power of lyricism and the power of the harp and the harmonicas and the different instruments that they used to edify the people and to give them peace of mind. In Africa, all of these things are natural to the indigenous cultures around the world. So then you have Europeans who see culture, Public Enemy, and the power of music and the impact that it's having on the people. So they take it and pervert it now. Not only is it perverted with the language that's being used in the lyrics, and it's so disgusting. Like if you listen to a rap, a pop radio station now, and I've been all across this country from New York to LA to the Bay Area. You hear the music, it's all the same thing, and it's all garbage. Like it's all garbage. I don't even see how they listen to it. Like it's like hearing fingernails on a chalkboard. You know what I mean? Young people are immersed in it. They love it. It's all they know. But it's the aspect of what's being said, but there's also a science underneath the music, the frequencies in the music, the hidden subliminal messages. This is why it's important that we look into science, that we look into the physiology of the body and of the mind. There's something that's taking place when you're watching television that you do not have, especially a plasma television. You have no clue about what's taking place. The frequencies that's in the music today is tapping into a neurological aspect of the mind, which is poisoning people. And it goes well beyond just the words that are being used. It's a manipulated drum beat. We know naturally the drum beat from Africa, it resonates with us. But there's also a drum beat to the planet that resonates with the human frequency and all nature and all frequencies. So, I don't want to go too far off in that, but there is a science behind the music and how it is being used to manipulate and brainwash people. This is why one of the reasons why our people are so lackadaisical. How we could see our children, Trayvon Martin, Oscar Grant, all of these different murders taking place, and we're just sitting back, and even black on black crime. We're sitting back and not really doing anything, and we're like, well, what's wrong with our people? Fluoridated water. It's the lead in the water. It's the music. It's the science behind the music, which the Europeans know and the people in the music industry know. We think we're just buying a record. And now it's digital opposed to analog, so there's a whole other science behind that. But this is why it's so important for us to stay abreast with modern times and what's taking place behind the scenes.
Correct. And because when you look at, white artists, the white artists don't be talking about killing white folks and doing all this horrible stuff to white folks. They don't do that. But, and if they say something like that, they don't promote them. And then the other thing that's, what's really concerning me is this, Dr. Frances Cress Welsing talked about this way before it actually started happening, about this feminization of the black male and how they promoting, all these black men walking around with these sagging pants. And then now you have people like Young Thug that's sitting up here coming out, calling another man bae and hubby and all this dress wearing that these celebrities are doing now, this homosexuality, trying to put it on the black man just to feminize them, because you can feminize a black man. Hey, it's easy to destroy him, easy to control him, and I see that as something that's very sinister that they're doing in this country.
Oh, absolutely. And Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, everyone who's watching this, you should absolutely have her book, The ISIS Papers, and go to YouTube and research her and be very astute to what she was talking about, the war of racism, white supremacy. And she talked in her book about the system of racism, white supremacy. And this is why you see homosexual males being elevated in different corporate endeavors. You do not pose a threat to the white male. That's on a man-to-man basis, but then it's also, as long as you are not cultivating a strong black family, male, female, and then children, which is 360 degrees, you are not moving towards destroying the system of racism, white supremacy. A strong black family is the greatest threat to the system of racism, white supremacy. So, it's like, if I talk about Young Thug, or if I talk about different artists, we talk about Jada and Will Pinkett and their son being the face of a very prominent and expensive European clothing line. People get mad because we're obsessed with the personality opposed to thinking about the bigger impact that it's having of seeing a young black male wearing a dress. What is that doing to not only the minds of our children, but the way that the rest of the world sees us and the way that the rest of the world interacts with us? So you have a Young Thug walking around with fingernail polish on and talking all this stuff about, like I'm a real woman. I'm for strong black men, whether you military, whether you into martial arts, whether you're into intelligence and studying, whether you are, just a brother who's out there working to take care of your family, whether you're into health and fitness, whether you're into the science of your mind and yourself, whether you're just taking care of your children, trying to make it by, janitor, businessman, business owner, whatever. I represent the strong, real black man. I don't do this soft, frilly, homosexual, you know what I mean? Like 1 foot in malehood and 1 foot in womanhood. No, we don't want that. Real black women are rejecting that. And we want our sons back. So when we look at young black boys who are walking and talking and acting and trying to be like women, some of that is our women's fault, because we are shaping and molding our sons in our image. I'm going to say that again. Some of our women are shaping and molding our sons in our image, and that is a major problem. And it doesn't matter if a man is in the household or not. You still have a responsibility to make sure that you are providing your son with the right tools in order to cultivate manhood. That means making sure he's involved in sports and programs or in different things where he has access to men, making sure he can see men like you, brothers who are out in the community that are doing work. You can't be sitting up in the house watching Real Housewives of Atlanta with homosexual men on the TV, and you have a son or a daughter and think it's not impacting them. They think that's black manhood. So I just want to stress, we want our sons back. We want our men back. Our men back. We are not privy or prone to accepting these drag queens and these effeminized men. No, we want real strong, black, astute brothers who are going to help us to turn this thing around.
Yeah, Zaza, now all that stuff me and you just said, we're going to be called bigots and haters because we do.
Zaza Ali does not do taboo. Let me just make it clear to everyone who is listening to my voice. I am here to represent the voiceless. I am here to say the things that a lot of people are thinking, but they are scared to say. So you can call me whatever you want to, but if you are black and you are listening to the sound of my voice, you have a duty and responsibility for 7 generations coming up behind you. So what can a homosexual, effeminized black male today do for 7 generations coming up behind him if he can't reproduce himself? We are talking about a systematic war. The brother named Tyrone Hayes did a very thorough study. He's from Cal Berkeley, where he talked about how the herbicides and the pesticides that are being sprayed on the corn and the produce across the country. He did a study on toads and found that male toads were starting to develop female ovaries. It was changing the physical anatomy of the toad. The toad started to be attracted to male toads. So now you want to call me a bigot, you want to call me a hater. Okay, but go look up Tyrone Hayes. You cannot settle in your ignorance today. I'm not here to make you feel good. I'm not here to stroke your ego or give some false sense of pride for our people. No, we are struggling. We are dealing with so many different levels of ignorance and poverty and shameful behavior. Somebody has to address it. So you can call me whatever you want to call me, but go and do the research first. Find out about how fish and polar bears and all of these different wildlife and animals across the planet, now the males are starting to turn to homosexual behavior. Something is very wrong. I'm sorry, brother. I didn't mean to go off on
look, sister, you can go off anytime you get good and ready. We don't worry about that here. I mean, hey, I enjoy when somebody speak with passion and heart, because the condition of what's going on with our people is something that you have to get passionate about and show the dire concern. Because it's not nothing we could speak so monotone about and act like everything is okay. I mean, we are screwed up in a whole lot of ways.
Yes.
Now, Zaza, before we wrap this up, are you doing any lectures that people possibly can attend in a few weeks or next month, something like that?
I am actually going to be in Oakland on June 18th out here in California. I'm going to be in Jacksonville, Florida. I should have my flyers in front of me, and I don't. In Jacksonville, Florida, on July 17th. I'm going to be in Southern California. The name of the city escapes me. This is so bad. On July 2nd. I'm going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina on June the 25th. And I'm also trying to set up a few dates in Atlanta around June 25th. So be checking for me in Charlotte as well as Atlanta around the end of June. But you can go to my website, zazaali.com. My books are there. My blogs are there, as well as interviews and whatnot. And all of my flyers for my upcoming events, you can find them there. I'm also on Facebook, Zaza Ali. You can go there and you can get information about all the upcoming events. And I know I'm leaving something out, so please forgive me if you're, one of the people who are bringing me in town and I didn't remember to plug it. Just go to my Facebook page, Zaza Ali, and I'll have all the information there for you to see where I'm going to be at.
All right, so make sure that you go to the Facebook page, zazaali.com, and also isn't your YouTube channel name Z Ali 2012? What is it called?
Yes, thank you for reminding me. It's Z Ali, ZALI 2012, and then I also have another YouTube page, which is Zaza Ali 007, and my lectures as well as my interviews and things, they can be found on both of those pages.
All right, so we'll try to put the cards up on the page. That way you guys can be clicking and subscribe to these channels and just check out, what Zaza has going on. But Zaza, thank you very much for joining us today, dropping a lot of knowledge, with passion, conviction, and heart. That's what we like to see. And maybe we could replicate more of you in the community. Maybe we could fix some things.
That's the goal. And thank you so much for brother for having me. Thank you for all the work you do on behalf of our people, and peace and love to all of your viewers.